I know that it's been a lot to get to this point. Okay, I'm seeing the coordinate within space-time that you are now seated within, and how you've come back to yourself. You've been able to reconnect with yourself in a way that has been longed for by all those who run parallel or who have come before you. Okay, and I'm seeing that connection that you've restored within yourself in this lifetime is something that you can nurture and actually carry forth with you in the etheric realms. I'm just seeing like gratitude, or an essence of, I did it. You know, it's like the accomplishment of the soul review, where it's like, I did exactly what I set out to. You know, like the moment of graduation where you've been working so hard for something, and then you just see that. It's so beautiful. I'm just seeing someone look back at their life experience and be, you know, just reflect on it and be like, then this happened and that happened and then this surprised me and this came through. I'm just seeing unexpected turning points. But in a previous reading, I did kind of touch base on how you've essentially changed your frequency substantially since your time of birth, since you've incarnated into this bloodline and accepted many, epigenetic markers and, societal conditioning and programming of the lineage. You've been able to deprogram much of these systems and actually restore this internal knowing, and that's led to you looking vastly different. This is very much for my black sheeps, the ones who are, kind of going against the grain from maybe what was modeled to them. And you're actually, I'm seeing it's the moment where the child ends up becoming the parental guardian of some kind, but I'm seeing it as a celestial guardian. I was supposed to say guardian, but there could be something that's very nurturing about your energy. All right, this is already going a completely different way than I thought. Okay, so yeah, it's like you are this celestial guardian where you are modeling a different example that was never modeled to those who have come before you. Okay, those who had entered into space-time before your incarnation. And so the message that I want to talk about is how a single wound can travel across an entire lineage or an entire bloodline. And then it just takes one fractal, which is you, my love, who is actually fractal of awareness that becomes conscious of these repetitive systems that you've actually lived, in order to be able to recognize the pattern. And the pattern is very much created through cause and effect, which is karma, and being able to see the effect of one's life through every single conscious or unconscious decision that was made. And that has created this foundation of learning in order for you to understand and recognize what that pattern is. So I'm seeing your abilities to decode these experiences from the perspective of the soul, like what it is that your family could have been going through, right, and their own experiences, what it is that your friends could have been going through, and how that translates into systems of energies that were built from over many lifetimes. Okay, and that bleeds into the unresolved wounds or experiences or lessons that the soul is still currently navigating within this lifetime. Okay, because I'm seeing it as we never outrun or escape our karma. It's actually something that we must resolve. It's something that we must dissolve, is what I'm seeing, in order to be free and choose to consciously create in this system utilizing the crown. And so I was seeing this as deities that are lost in sleeping in matter. That was a term that I used to use a lot back in the day, and holding, space for the deities. We are all deities that can be lost in sleeping in this physical system and incarnation, because one, our cosmic origins incarnate into this dense physical material plane. That prolonged embodiment and association, where we identify ourselves with solely the physical, actually leads to us very quickly forgetting our etheric origins or our cosmic origin point. When we forget that we actually originate and branch far beyond this matrix, then it can lead to electrical communication with the source becoming very fragmented. And so we begin to seek an external source for that empowerment, for that acceptance, for whatever it may be. And there's something about you being able to restore that electrical communication with the source, which is dramatically shifting the way that you relate to your life experiences on earth. And I'm hearing also gently or subtly influence the way that those around you are perceiving their life experiences, maybe through the insights that you're able to give. I'm hearing asked upon request. So there's something around the request and how you've been requested in many ways. Okay, there's something around that. Okay, the acceptance, an invitation that you had accepted, a request that you had accepted. Anyway, what I want to speak about is the more that you're able to change your frequency from your birth bloodline at the time of your incarnation to the time of death, and actually return back to the 0 point and restore harmonic order and the desire to remember oneself in this lifetime, you're able to free yourself from those cycles and also pull forward your generational lineage, which is this one body of consciousness, through the portal that you are. Okay, I'm hearing the portal in which you become and the portal in which you return back to. Today, I have a really, really exciting topic of discussion. This actually came through in a huge download last night in the most unexpected way. I was actually working on something else, and then I finally discovered that like 3 different separate teachings that I was going to do could be interwoven into one, and it's all from a 666 energy that was coming through, and the key word was resurrection. There is something that you're resurrecting. It could be dormant capabilities or potential that actually lies within the DNA itself, okay, but it becomes very, very compressed and restricted as we experience low vibrational octave emotions like fear, which have a really slow bandwidth, that actually end up weighing really heavy, right? We can think about it as them becoming more dense the more that we associate ourselves with simply the physical realm. And the more that you're able to actually remember your true nature, you are able to expand that contraction and restore everything that was hidden or suppressed within this. You can think about it as like a slinky, right? When you put a slinky together, that's like DNA where it cannot be fully expressed. Your ancestors haven't been able to be fully expressed. You're able to show up for yourself now in this lifetime in a way that you weren't able to do before. So resurrection in 666 is a message that I kept seeing again and again and again. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. Reflection. 666 is about reviewing, revising, and kind of, I'm hearing needing to a redirection or what's it called? Like discovering, a rediscovery that could be happening as well. So this is a reflection that's happening. When you allow, I can't read backwards, time for reflection, at least not fast. You allow yourself to see where your inner shifts are needed. It is time for you to look at your beliefs and ask, is this serving me, or is this for me to release this? Reflect, refocus, and readjust. Oh, this is so fascinating because there's almost the energy of, is this my truth? And where does this truth come from, right? Is this my belief system? Or where does this belief system come from? Is this my fear? Does this belong to me, right? You're beginning to ask those questions, or at least you have been, around where these learned behaviors have actually been integrated as a form of, survival mechanism while navigating this matrix. Because what is the matrix in this system? It's 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, and 6 protons. And that is the system of this carbon-based life in which we take on. 6 literally reflects in numerology about things to do with matter, with incarnation itself, and the physical reality that we're immersed in. And so I was actually studying something a few weeks back in Mexico, and it was actually to do with the resurrection of ancient enzymes and what happened once life emerged. So there are these scientists that have been working on the resurrection of essentially just ancient enzymes, and they're able to almost like breadcrumbs, trace what it is that they left behind in their life experiences and understand their point of origin and where it is that they've come from. And so I have some notes on this, right? So I want to share with you some things that I find incredibly fascinating because I feel like you'll find them interesting too. So when scientists resurrect ancient enzymes, they are resurrecting ancient protein structures that once operated within these ancient life forms. One important thing to note is that you are more non-physical than you are physical, right? Only 2% of your DNA is made up of these proteins. So only 2% of you is physical. The rest of you is multidimensional and non-physical, right? And engaging with all of these other realms. And so I'm hearing that 2% can be super deceiving because once we actually identify ourselves with solely the physical, we actually block ourselves off from vast portions of our potential and our infinity. This reminds us that life today actually contains molecular echoes of the ancient earth that are then being resurrected through us, right? So the proteins in your cells are the descendants of proteins that existed billions of years ago, and they're not identical, right? They are related though, and they also carry history forward to be expressed in this new way. So that's something that's really important to understand, because it talks about, essentially this woman was speaking about resurrecting these ancient enzymes. And she was like, when they wake up and they're in a completely different environment. Some of you are going to pick up what I'm putting down, right? They wake up and they're in a completely different environment. The world is different. And so she said that you don't really understand each other. They don't understand what you're trying to say. You don't understand what they're trying to say. There is like this miscommunication, almost like a conversation between microbes and an organism, where there's a conversation between the past and also the present. So it kind of reminds you of the future self speaking to the past self, and it's like, don't worry, this and this is not going to work out, but then this and this will happen. You're like, what? I cannot even comprehend. It's that type of energy of, okay, advice that you're receiving, or non-linear signals of communication that you're receiving, and it's like, this doesn't even make sense for all the things that are going to unfold. It's kind of like that energy across parallels, where there's a conversation between, what is and what is becoming within your life experience. There's some type of interesting, I'm just seeing like telepathy. Scientists also call this the 𝓬𝓵, which is a consistent partnership where an organism or a human is existing with billions of microbes, or ancient biological information that's still present and also expressing itself through the very living system today. So literally through you, there are many ancient microbes that are essentially expressing themselves through you. And it's not as memories within a mystical sense. I got bit by a mosquito, no way, that's my first bite. Okay, so anyway, it's inherited molecular instructions that are refined over the process of evolution itself. So it's how these microbes, I always want to say, experience life on earth in such a vastly different way. Okay, how you are composed of the cells of your ancestors and they're composed of the cells of their ancestors, and I'm just seeing so many descendants down where things begin looking vastly different. You begin navigating the system vastly different. So I'm going to speak more on this, and I'll probably throw up some illustrations to share with you the story and the actual scientific research behind it. So scientists essentially resurrected ancient enzymes by placing them inside of more modern organisms. And we can refer as the organism as you, right? You are an organism composed up of trillions of cells and billions of microbes. So you were just a place for microbes to live, or these cells to express themselves through your carbon-based life form. And the researchers often found that the ancient proteins operated very differently simply because they were in a different environment. The earth is different, the chemistry is different, the ecosystem is different. Almost like an ancient intelligence has returned back to a world that it no longer recognizes. And this could be you returning back to, your same reality, but with this renewed vision or perspective. Because in biology, of course, this signals I'm hearing the direct equation of evolution, like the physical manifestation of how we evolve over time and how we can even look vastly different through, I'm hearing, living under the laws of of time, right, of space-time, and how that impacts our avatar. But esoterically, it actually becomes a far more beautiful metaphor, because when we look inside, it's almost like how our authentic nature and how the soul desires to express itself through form has become suppressed in such a way by the conditioning that we have taken on. And what do we look like when we actually create safety within our body once again, so the soul feels safe enough to actually play in this existence and create for creation's sake, rather than creating because of how it's going to be perceived or how it will be received, right? It's that type of energy that's coming through. And so it doesn't immediately recognize the reality that it finds itself in, right? It's like it finds itself in this constricted, dense material plane where, so many of these deities are lost in sleeping and matter, and then you wake up and it's like, whoa, you can't see yourself clearly. It's like that type of energy, because we're all we're all fractals of infinite potential, and whether a fractal of infinite potential is aware of the fact that it's infinite potential doesn't negate the fact of what it actually is. And so we can actually see how many of us in the system are actually blocking ourselves off from vast portions of our potential actually available for us to experience. So there's that type of energy of, oh my gosh, it's like that's what the third dimension offers us, that beauty in that contrast. Another thing that I want to speak about is when we talk about the past, this isn't like layers of reality that are just stacked up upon each other like this deck of cards. This is not like how the past is. This isn't linear fashion of, oh, this thing happened right here, right? This is when you were studying in school or in college or homeschooled, and this is when you graduated or you hit that milestone, and that's when you got your first job, and that's when you da 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 da. And no, that's not how time functions. Okay, this is the linear progression of time, but time actually functions more like this. Okay, it's actually linked in columns. So we have, I don't know if I'm even going to be able to like show you, it's almost like time slots within time where all things are just coexisting. I can only probably do 4 guys, so they're like columns, and of course it would be like strips that continue, and it would be infinite like columns like this. How I would describe it is parallel lives, right? Where they can all communicate with each other. It's like this can communicate with this can communicate with this can communicate with this, and you can always jump back and forth or even streamline these different gifts or abilities between lifetimes, right? So these like parallel existences in many ways that have retained memory, have retained memory from their other lifetimes or other experiences. This is really important to understand. So your ancestor had grown up in a very particular environment that had led to certain behaviors being modeled, maybe even behaviors of how they should and should not function within this certain set of circumstances. So let's talk about the theme of famine. The behavior that this being could have adopted would have been the accumulation of whatever they could get their hands on, right? To bring this sense of security and safety. This also could be a certain stress response that they had developed because of the environmental conditions that they had grown up in. And so it led to certain attachment patterns, as well as just this, let's just say, a stress response that they would resort to in order to self-soothe within the experience that they were having upon planet Earth at that time. And so these are actually behaviors and stress responses and patterns of attachment that are passed down generationally. And so that gets passed down from grandma to mother, and then from mother into that next descendant. And within you carry that ancestral memory, you carry that, memory from the bloodline, and you can awaken that dormant potential of how this being could have navigated this construct in an alternative way. And so the way that I would describe it is like these ancient enzymes awaken within you as an organism that hosts, trillions of these microbes, and they awaken and they don't recognize, we're not in war, we are not in famine anymore, but there's still these same stress responses that are brought to the surface. So you could have this, and I've seen this modeled in my own family. So that's why I'm bringing this up, that I see within my maternal side, there is this desire, and I see this pattern of behavior along quite a few of my family members, where there's like this desire to accumulate material possessions, essentially, to there's this desire, and it's very unconscious, to acquire material possessions to bring a sense of safety. And so that could come as like addiction to shopping. It could come to just different kind of behavioral mechanisms that the being has adopted and has actually been passed down that they haven't become aware of. And so I was aware of, I never really had it like this. I was aware of it from a young age, and I was able to break that model of behavior. there's some kind of example like that where you can have again a certain level of pattern recognition and recognize, I'm not actually seeking the thing externally, I'm seeking the fulfillment or safety that it brings me. And so it's about you becoming your own source in this way. And it's very interesting because again, that's almost microbiome inheritance. It can be the nervous system conditioning that's also passed down through generations, and the behavioral tendencies of your ancestors that are being re-expressed through you, right? Especially if we go unconscious. And these are just epigenetic markers. So that is not something that's fixed into your identity. It's something that makes an impression, yet you can also reprogram it. So, we are going to have this in many different ways. And actually studying our family, studying our bloodlines and those patterns of behaviors can be incredibly helpful. And if we can actually place ourselves in the shoes of another and recognize the pattern of behavior that they're going through in a way that they may not even fully understand, we can actually hold a space for them, and we can hold that compassion for them because we deeply understand what it is they're going through. Through hypnotherapy, I've recovered many memories of my grandmother and also my mother's upbringing, and it's incredibly difficult. And so there are many patterns of behavior that you're then able to understand. And if you can understand something you innately understand, it really does help with that process of being able to, again, deeply meet someone in a way that they have not yet fully met themselves. And the importance of this is that we recognize at some point, and as I was talking about in the beginning of this reading, we can model that alternate example and become that guardian to those who have come before us, right? It's super interesting. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say something else there. But yeah, we can model a different pattern of behavior. That's what this is. And that won't look like um anything that has been modeled to you. It will look like something that's completely new, and that's quite literally the point, because the lineage is something that is biological, it's also microbial. If we speak about like this, it's psychological and it's cultural all at once. And so again, these ancient enzymes reawaken within you, and they're like, and you're like, yeah, we don't have to do this anymore. It's like there's more than enough to go around. Like we don't have to acquire or accumulate mass or density or physical possessions in order to feel safe, right? Like we can actually bring safety into the body now. So it becomes a bridge, really. I find this so fascinating because you're essentially not an isolated individual, but instead you're a constellation of cells, and your current expression is essentially the countless lineages that are interacting simultaneously through you. And so you, as a human being, contain many cells, trillions of cells that have an evolutionary history of billions of years upon planet Earth, and the cycles that the planet Earth had also moved through. We speak about things like awakening ancient codes, like we see this all the time in the, I guess, spiritual community. Really what it is the organism or the human being, right? You accessing these latent or dormant capabilities or ways of being, ways of navigating and moving through the system that were always accessible to us in the field from the very source in which we've all emerged from, and then we return back to that knowing while being seated inside of the experience. And this is something that's able to be re-expressed through you, it's able to be lived through you and your ancestral bloodline. And this could be where we have suppressed ourselves and our own gifts, because these different emotions, especially when it comes to resistance to love, right? Really loving ourselves and loving our life and falling in love with our life and life itself, and the interaction and exchange that's able to happen with energy within this universe that we've created. I keep saying when I close my eyes, the matrix, the interconnected matrix. I'll see if I can find the card. It's like the flower of life, how everything connects to everything else. That's what I'm seeing. And it talks about God instances. So it could be you seeing your life experience it from this seed of life, right? How you were seeded onto this planet. And that resistance sometimes manifests through resistance to our own authentic expression. It could be our resistance to expanding in this network and really meeting ourselves first from this place of wholeness, so that we can have wholeful, sovereign, co-creative exchanges with the world around us. And when we resist our authenticity, or we resist the way that the soul desires to play or experience in this realm, we are literally blocking our own life force, right? This is chi energy from being able to flow through us freely as a conduit and fully experience the totality of what life has in store for us. Well, I just shuffle this deck and we have Thoth light code. So this is remembering your formless nature before returning back to the light, and that again, we are all children of light learning to return to that wisdom once again. That is what the Thoth code is. So this talks about divine magic and a great teacher awakening within you. And that blockage of life force through your system is also a blockage of health. It's a blockage of inspiration. I'm gonna go ahead and read this card actually, because it's very profound. And you know, it can also block vitality and healing and our ability to procreate in this system very freely, especially when it comes to our creative abilities, truly. Let me see if I can find this real quick. So you were blessed to connect with Thoth. You were going through a powerful set of light initiations at this time. These are preparing you to lead and teach from a powerful space of love. In order to complete the process, there will be a release of old ideas and limiting stories, but this is necessary for you to connect with the true power within you. Don't be concerned by the intensity of the energies that surround you right now. Facing your shadow parts is as essential for connecting with the divine magic and evolved beings. So again, the light work is inseparable from the shadow work. Like accessing your gifts are going to be in the shadows, right? It's actually being able to face your fears. Anyway, that it leads you to the cusp of a breakthrough. It talks about you being on the cusp of something extremely powerful right now in your life experience. And as you see yourself as a creative being, and you embark on your creative endeavors and whatever it is that you want to pursue in this physical, you know, material, tangible plane, and how you want to express that, how the soul expresses itself through the material existence, you'll notice how you're going to be of service on this planet Earth, right? How you're here to be of assistance and to model that example. So even in how you walk the planet, right? If that's something that is destructive, or that's something that's going to be very healing. And that could be just the encounters that people have with you, right? The way that you're able to hold space for those around you. And we all have contractual agreements with the earth herself as an organism, right? She is an organism that hosts trillions of microbes, essentially, that like us, we are like the cells of her organism, if you think about it that way. And so that is an agreement with the earth, it's an agreement with yourself, it's an agreement with your bloodline. Oh God, I keep seeing the flower of life so strongly. And you'll understand this through the archetypes that you cycle through within your lineage and the archetypes in which you've identified with. So maybe there is a theme across your lineage of seeing yourself as a victim, right? Or seeing how that's been passed down through generations. Everyone is a victim, everyone is a perpetrator, everyone is you, it's versus me, and we all experience betrayal themes, right? That's going to be like a solar plexus portal that you've almost incarnated into in many ways, where you'll have resonant contracts that play out, subconscious agreements that play out to actually reveal to you what the exchanges were, how beings that came before you exchanged their life force with the planet Earth, let's just say the lessons in which they were moving through, the lessons that were uncompleted, and the lessons that you were able to resolve. So that could be cultivating more self-trust. It could be cultivating more confidence in how you exchange your life force with the physical material plane and being able to balance any of the imbalanced exchanges, right? No longer placing yourself in the seat of being a victim or a perpetrator for both the positions of weakness, but instead being able to see it through the reconnection to your own divinity, right? That's a lot to do with the solar plexus themes. And so you'll move through these different phases and also lifetimes and that cyclical pattern within your own lineage. And when you start to transcend the overall archetype, right, whatever that could be, you know, fill in the gap for you. That's where we do the internal work and the pattern recognition to identify what that is. Because yes, it will be similar, but it will also be extremely, you know, individual for your experience and what the soul desired to transcend. then you'll move into another archetype, you know, and that could be in your next lifetime, it could be in this lifetime alone, but that will be in resonance with the next soul group that you'll find yourself in alignment with. It could represent the frequency of your lessons and how the frequency of your lessons are able to evolve as you evolve, right? So as we evolve as organisms of consciousness, and also I just want to say, remembering our parental guardians as organisms of consciousness also on their own journey of evolution can be incredibly healing at some point. And I think I posted a community post. We stop seeing our parents as just parents and we just begin seeing them as people, right? Like going through their own lessons, them made their own mistakes. And that's important to see, right? To see the human nature within all things. And that is the nature of this construct. It is perfectly imperfect. I'm hearing perfectly imperfect, okay? Statistically improbable, but you did it anyway. And so I'm going to get a closing up message. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. Let me see. Let's do a Star Child deck for this. Let's get a Star Child message. We do have Joy of Life and the Phoenix here at the base. So let's see. Ooh. And again, this isn't just ancestral memory. A lot of it is also terrestrial memory. It's interdimensional storylines that have also played out. We have the Cities of Light. The Cities of Light is a number 10 card. I'm going to go ahead and read it. And then you also have Fire and Water at the base, which is an internal to external. Okay, the Cities of Light speaks about the Telos, the Adama, and the inner earth. And it's about the etheric retreats and our family of light, inner earth communication, the new earth potential, and I was going to say portal. So again, your DNA is a portal. I joyfully meet with the Lemurian family of the inner planes and receive their love, light, and wisdom for the new earth. When we feel overwhelmed with humanity's circumstances on earth, inner earth beings show us the potential for the new paradigm. Receiving that energy with peace, love, and the evolution brings us great healing and wisdom. Their cities of light are safe havens that we can revisit in our light bodies, which show us the possibilities for new earth. Listen to this. Their cities of light are safe havens that we can visit in our light bodies, which show us the possibilities for the new earth. The new earth is being inhabited through you. Okay, the new earth is being experienced through you. It's about you becoming a walking example of what your ancestors could have experienced. Okay, again, it's like ancient enzymes awaken, and there's like this confusion around, what do you mean we can move through this life? It's like, again, a shift of perspective. Let's shift this okay, yeah, listen, things are different now. They're not how they were. So this is the game plan. It feels like, again, it's like you are, what's it called? It gets me being briefed. It's like you're briefing your ancestors. Listen, we don't have to do it this way anymore. We're going to start doing it this way. We're going to see how great it is. It's like that type of energy. So I'm just seeing like the communion of souls coming together. And I feel like that is the graduation where your ancestors are finally being able to ascend through, because again, you're this one body of consciousness that you pull forth. I could not find a way to articulate it or explain it, but I see it all the time in visions. Anyway, it says you've drawn this card because your inner earth beings would like to connect with you to show you the great potentials of light and for your personal life and for humanity. They show you etheric pathways that lead to their cities of light, where you can meet many members of your light family. Their city of light and the collective of love give you great inspiration and energetic support for co-creating the new earth. Millions live inside the earth in sacred mountains and deeper beneath the surface. Yeah, this amplifies the energy. So it talks about Lemurian energy. It also is much has been obscured from the earth's history. There's been many catalysms, disasters that were caused by ignorance. The Lemurian Eden perished because many forgot their true nature and went on to explore karmic journeys. Again, a huge topic of discussion then would be how you are your ancestral lineage as well. So there are parallel lives where, for example, let's go back to our example. So let's bring up these gracefully designed parallels and time itself. So this is our representation of time. Of course, there's going to be infinite columns of this. It's going to be far more than what I'm able to hold right now, right? It's going to continue to extend and branch off. Let's say your most closest parallel existence is the lifetime that you lived in the Atlantis civilization. And your last memory on Earth was being swept away in this great flood, simply because the cultivation of AI actually was something that rapidly accelerated far beyond human consciousness itself. And so this was a great, powerful tool that was essentially something that would be turned into a weapon, not because of the tool, but because of the user behind the tool. And so it was more constructive, or not constructive, but more conducive and let's say productive for humanity to just reset and allow our consciousness to mature to such a degree where true maturation is remembering ourselves as more non-physical than we are physical. So we're able to use these physical tools in this realm responsibly, right? We're able to create in the system more responsibly in a more conducive way. And so your relationship in this lifetime could bleed in from memories from this one, right? And it's funny because this is the reincarnation card. So there could be things that actually inspire you where maybe there is this blend of intellectual sciences as well as the connection to the spirit as well, and the mechanics of spirit navigating the physical realm. That's kind of what it reminds me of. And there could be things that you want to integrate or weave into your daily existence to kind of practice and honor that, to do things that you weren't able to do in that lifetime. And yeah, it just kind of reminds me of this. I don't know how to articulate it, but reincarnation is all to do with you essentially pulling in and being impacted by your most resonant parallel lives. And that's what we see as past lives in this existence. And there could be a lesson there for you as something that you need to hear. But with that being said, I'm gonna leave you right there, my love, because I need to get going. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, do consider subscribing because we'd love to have you around. Personal reading details are also down below. Also check out OTTER if you're looking for some high quality AAE grade jewelry. I believe this is Amazonite, something like this. And then we also have kunzite and we have sunstone right there as well. Beautiful blend. It's my favorite colors. I love this card. I love this blend right here. It feels good. It looks good. It's beautiful. So yeah, I'm gonna go. Let me know what you feel like the microbes are that are kind of like a reawakening from an esoteric standpoint. And yeah, what are you navigating differently and what are you redirecting? All right. So what are you allowing your ancestors to experience through you? Until next time, bye.